Welcome back to AFL Supercoach. The first thing I want to say in this video is a massive thanks to my subscribers for helping me achieve my goal of 200 subscribers by round zero. Now, that's obviously come about a month early. So I think I'm going to have to reset the goal now at 250 before round zero. But yeah, I do really appreciate it. So thanks again. And I know that they don't seem like big numbers or anything, but everyone has to start somewhere, I guess. Now, today's video will be shorter than yesterday's, obviously. It's not a preview video, but yeah, hopefully that will give me some time to prepare the Brisbane preview that I'm planning to do over the next couple of days. I'm not sure when that one will go up, but the streak will continue. If it's not tomorrow, there'll be a different video in its place. I actually had a bit of a Mandela effect moment with the video I'm about to do. I swear I already covered this, the midfield pre and post buy averages, but I went through my videos obviously and I just couldn't find it anywhere. So if I have already done this, I apologize, but yeah, I seriously could not find it. So yeah, that's what you're getting today. So as usual, there's no finals or sub games included in this. So yeah, it's simply pre versus post buy averages. And I guess with this one, the numbers aren't really the point. They're just an indicator of where something changed and gives us a rough idea of where to look. So if we can identify what that is and then see how and why it impacted the player positively or negatively, we can kind of decide if that scenario is likely to happen again in 2025. And that's Supercoach in a nutshell, really. Well, at least at this time of year. So it's interesting, I think, to note that most of these mids, they declined post-buy. So I think that's one thing to keep in mind when it comes time to do the upgrade trades around the buys. You kind of want to be targeting value more than anything else and not paying up for these guys that are killing it, because very few of them seem to be able to keep it up all season. Like, obviously you're going to have your Bonts and players like that, but yeah, there's an exception to every rule, I guess. Why is this? Well, I don't know. There's a whole heap of reasons, but if I had to guess, like an overall, like for all of these in an overall sense, like I think the guys that kill it at the start of the year, they cop extra attention as teams start to work out what's causing other teams to win. And I think there's also that general fatigue. If you've played footy of any level, you'll know that once you hit like the long winter and stuff like that, and you know, the cold training nights and stuff, you definitely start to fatigue. You don't have that same like zip in your step that you have at the start of the year when you're hungry to play. So yeah, I should get into it now. Callahan is the top player here for the positive post-buy differential. Didn't expect that, but here he is. Now, I'm not looking to pick him at all, but I've seen some people are, and there's some that are very hot on him. I think the most obvious reasoning for his jump in score is that his CBA's increased by about 7%, so up to 47% total. I think it's a bit of a bad sign for him, though, that during the finals, he only got 30%. So it's not really great for those hoping to own him, because it kind of shows that when things get like desperate or the game's on the line or whatever, the coach isn't really going to turn to him as the one to put in there. But yeah, I'm not saying he's a terrible pick, but I'm not looking at him based on stuff that was in other videos and stuff. Yeah, all these videos connect, so please, if you haven't, watched the others and you'll see what I mean. George Hewitt, so he's another one. His CBAs went up by 6% and his TOG went up by 5%. So it doesn't sound like much, but that's enough to give you a bit of a scoring bump there. He was also, in the second half of the year, cemented as that third mid, and that continued into the finals as well, even though those numbers aren't represented here. It's a good sign for anyone, I think, that's looking to pick him this year. And he's honestly not the worst pick. Like, we've seen that he can score consistently before. It's just for him a matter of, is he going to be that third mid or not? If he is, then yeah, he's not a bad pick. Brayshaw, so he's in my team. We've since found out that he was carrying a foot injury at the start of the year, and I think that was all done by the bye. And then we've seen here that he's picked up by about 13 points a game. So, yeah, great starting pick because he's now somewhat underpriced, I think. Yeah, his season average was quite a bit lower than what he can actually do this year. Well, at least I hope so anyway. Newcomb, he is one of those where his score is tied to what the team is doing. So Hawks obviously killed it post-bye, and his score increased as a lot of the Hawks did. Cripps. 3 votes to Cripps. So he's one where he doesn't really have a limit. So if you watch the CBA sweet spot video that I did, you'll see that Cripps just keeps on increasing. Like the more CBAs he gets, the better he scores. So, you know, if you could give him 100%, he'd score even better. So he had the 8% increase post-bye in the CBAs. And so it looks like Carlton really settled on that trio of Cripps, Walsh and Hewitt post-bye. So, yeah, they all kind of saw... Well, actually, all but Walsh. The other 2 did. But, yeah, Cripps and Hewitt went up with those extra CBAs. So, LDU... I think this one was pretty easy to pinpoint. So, again, in another video, I covered midfielders' averages in wins versus losses. And LDU, he averages more in wins. And all 3 of North's wins came post-bye. I hope you can see what I mean now by all these videos kind of connect. Like, if you can connect the dots between them. Because when you put it all together, like, kind of like what I did with the Crom preview, it creates this like bigger picture to show you what's actually going on and why things are happening, I think. Anyway, Richard's got more time in the midfield, obviously, in the second half of the year, so that's a pretty easy one. I think the same with Caldwell. For Richards, it should continue, I reckon, and obviously it's going to continue early with Treloar out. But he will come back, so it depends what happens then. I've got Richards currently in my team. I don't think he's going to stay there, if I'm honest. The more I look into it, I'm not sold. He's still got those floor games, and I think there's better options around that price. Like I'm still pretty interested in Rosie, and to be honest, Dawson would be up there. But yeah, I'll probably discuss all that in another video. From here, I think it's pretty even. Like they're pretty close to their pre-buy average here. Like there's not much differential to talk about. Bontno and Butters, like look at these incredible averages that they held either side of the buy. That's nuts. And the other one I want to point out, well, actually, there's probably 2 here. Burgoyne really slipped under the radar last year. Like, how did he go averaging basically 85 for the year? And no one really talked about him, or at least I didn't hear anything. So if you started him at the start of the year, well done. The other one is Steele. He copped a lot of shit, but he's pretty much gone 108 either side of the buy, like dead on. So 108, you know, for what we paid for him, I think he was like 530 or something at the start of the year. And I had him, like I got him when he was that cheap. That's pretty good. You take that. So, yeah, it's interesting. Like, you can get frustrated with stuff like that during the year, but when you actually look back on it, it's not that bad. So I'll move up to here now. I'll skip Libber because he's not really relevant. He's one head knock away from finishing his career. So we'll start again with Harley Reid. So these are the guys, obviously, that have had the decline in the second half of the year. I think Reid's pretty easy to explain. He's probably had that fatigue given that it was his first season, and he played a lot of midfield time for a first-year player. So I think that will most likely improve this year, you would think. Crouch, he just wasn't the same after he come back off that shoulder injury. Granted, it was only like 4 games or something anyway at the end of the year, and Crom were pretty washed up by then, well out of finals contention. But yeah, he was below his best. He really relies on, he's got to have his both his arms healthy because he's such a contested ball winning beast, and you can't really do much at the coalface if you got one rough shoulder. But don't forget, he was meant to miss the rest of the season, and he actually only missed, I think, like 4 weeks or something. And I owned him. He was a great pick up until then, but he did his job. So yeah, all good there. Saligo is included here. I didn't include him in my Crom preview. I don't think he's a pick at all, so we can see how much he's reliant on CBAs here. I don't like that at all. So he was 62% CBAs in the first half of the year. He dropped to 50% in the the post buy, and his scoring's just fallen off a cliff here. Now there's more mouths to feed. I'm putting the line through him, unfortunately. Chera was injured, so kind of skip him. If you really want to see what he actually can do, go and look at his 2023 numbers. That's what he does when he's healthy, and we're not picking him if he's not healthy, or at least I think you shouldn't be. So Heaney's averages were different here, like 18 points different. But I had a bit of a deep dive into his actual stats, and nothing really changed too much at all. He did average half a goal less post-buy, but I think it's probably more a case of getting more attention from the opposition after he went nuts at the start of the year. Plus, Sydney went through that real lean patch, so I think you can still probably pick Heaney with confidence. Yeah, I don't know if he's going to start like he did last year, but as long as he's in the midfield, I think he's going to be pretty good. Probably no value there, though. With that lean patch that I mentioned with Sydney as well, that also accounts for Warner. So, obviously they started to lose those games in blocks in the second half of the year. And Warner only averages 78 in losses. So, that explains this big time. I don't think, just based on that, by the way, I don't think anyone can pick Warner with any real confidence unless he could turn that around. Skip Sarong there to get to Warner, but I think this was purely a case of getting tagged harder, and that's going to continue this year. Like, I can see Sarong being the one that gets tagged. Maybe he'll be young, but I don't think so. And that's why I've picked Brayshaw as well, because these second kind of mids in each team, they're the valuable ones. Like, think of a Dunkley or whatever, like Dunkley to Neil or Treloar to Bont. They're the guys that don't get tagged, and so they get a free run at it pretty much every game. So, yeah, there's definitely good value in that kind of player. I am not picking Sarong for this reason. I think he's still a little bit prone to a tag, or at least, not being able to break it. And then lastly, I have Oliver. So he just didn't look interested. He wasn't himself at all. We know all the off-field drama and crap like that. The broken pre-season and injuries and all that shit. So hopefully he's different this year. Hasn't put a foot wrong so far, which is nice. But yeah, in the second half of last year, he just didn't look interested at all. He looked unfit and slow, and the biggest thing I could tell looking into his stats that changed was his disposal efficiency dropped off by 11%, which is a pretty big drop. I'm guessing this was probably because playing inside mid and without the help of Petrarca, he was probably under more pressure all the time because he didn't have that breakaway speed like he normally has. Like, he's not the fastest player, but he can still, break a tackle and get away. But when you're unfit and slow because you've let yourself get out of shape, obviously that's going to be harder, and then you got less time to dispose of the ball properly. So hopefully that's not a problem this year. So that's about it, to be honest. Yeah, as I always say with these videos, I'm not really here to tell you what to do too much. It's more of just presenting the information and telling you what I seem to find, and then hopefully you can make your own conclusions from there. Yeah, hit pause and have a look at the table, I guess, and see if anything stands out to you or somewhere to have a look at stuff, but that's the whole point of it. So as I said at the start of the video, the streak will continue, but I'll try and get that Brisbane preview out over the next couple of days. Also, another thing to watch out for, I've very kindly been invited onto DR's channel. So if you don't watch his videos, go and watch him. He's one of the original goats of the Supercoach YouTubers. But yeah, I'll be making an appearance there at some point, so keep an eye out for that. And just a shout out to another really good Supercoach, Supercoach God. Go check him out if you haven't. He's got some really good stuff there. And again, hit sub if you haven't already. If you enjoyed the video or you enjoy the other videos, help me get to that goal of 250 by round 0, because that would be really nice to head into the season with that kind of momentum. But yeah, as always, thanks for watching this one, and I'll see you tomorrow.